Have you ever said to yourself, I will do travel, I will, go swimming at the beach, I will do whatever it is that's maybe on your bucket list or some things that you want to do, but you'll do them when you lose the weight? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're talking about living in the now, living in the now. And I have a special guest that I want to share with you. Her name is Tonya Brewington. I'm going to bring her to the stage in just a moment. But I wanted to welcome all of you. For those of you who are tuning into Zepbound Journey with Ange for the very first time, welcome. It's a pleasure having you here. I'm kind of chilling outside today, so hopefully the wind won't be blowing too much. It won't be too much of a distraction. But I'm excited to be here. I have been on a weight loss journey for, I've been struggling with my weight almost all of my life, but I've been on this GLP-1 journey since February 2024. I'm down over 50 pounds now. I can't wait to give you an update in my next video. But in this video, we're going to talk to our special guest, and I'll have her introduce herself in just a moment. So let me welcome her to the stage. Please help me welcome Tonya Brewington to the stage. Yay! We have Tonya Brewington here. She's from Courageously Alive, and I like to call her T Brew. Um, welcome, welcome. So nice to have you.
Thank you, and it's good to be here. It's good to be here, and thank you for letting me talk to your audience. I'm so excited about what you're doing. So this is really interesting.
Thank you. I only bring the best and the brightest. Only brilliant people get to come and talk to my audience. So I will tell you that we're a kind, caring, compassionate community,
Yeah,
a safe space, and they're absolutely brilliant, right?
yeah,
My audience
yeah.
is absolutely brilliant. And so I'm excited that you said yes to come. And I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have. But before we
Mhm.
jump into that, will you please introduce yourself to the people?
Yes. Hey, everybody. I'm Tonya Brewington, and I work with women who've experienced painful and difficult relationships with their moms. And I work with them to acknowledge what happened and have the courage to actually heal from all of that experience so that you can actually have a different life beyond that painful experience with your mom. So that's what I do.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I thought we were talking a few days ago, and the more we talked about it, I was like, all these different things, like your relationships, your work, all of it is tied into, or can be tied into, your health and wellness, right? It can be tied into the weight you lose or the weight that you continue to hold on to. We were also talking about, you know, how many of us wait to do the thing until we, in our mind, we're saying when we get to a certain point, we'll start living, right? And so that's the conversation we want to have today. So I'll let you open us up, and then we'll just jump in and start chatting.
One thing that's really interesting is let me tell you, when in 2013, I lost my daughter, right? And she was a newborn. So the fact that I lost her was devastating because I had this whole life plan. We were going to do this, we were going to have this whole thing. But one of the consequences of losing her was I was so keenly aware of the amount of time that we have on earth. And what happened to me was not just the whole notion that I had to heal, I had to grieve and heal this, but it was more about I don't have time to just kind of what I was calling like just kind of existing, just kind of living like casually. Whatever came up was what I kind of worked with. But I became so much more intentional about my life when I had this realization that time, is limited. Now, let me say this. Most of us know this already. We know that there's an end date for all of us, right? But what I think happens is we still operate on when one day I'll do this, one day I'll get to that, or one day I might try this or that. And I had a very, very strong realization that this, sometimes the one day doesn't get here. I'm at an age where, and I'm not going to say that it's an age where a lot of people are passing away, but what I've noticed is as I look around, I hear people saying, oh, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so passed away. Last year, I went to a class reunion, and maybe a month ago, one of my classmates who was there passed away. She didn't wake up one morning, and her husband was like, she just didn't wake up, you know. And so what I know happens, and I'm not an old person, you know, and I'm not like in my 80s or 70s or any or even 60s. I'm not there. So the fact that, you know, you're looking around like, what? Because she looked
Mhm.
healthy. We had a nice conversation. She sounded like everything was good. She was telling me about her travels, but she was gone, you know? And so one of the things that I know is that sometimes we think we have time to do these things. And what I also know is that there are lots of us who have our dreams that are sitting with us when we pass away. So I had someone who said to me, you know, the most I'm going to mess it up, but the
Mhm.
place where you have the best ideas, the best dreams is in a graveyard, because there's so many people who go to their grave holding on to that dream or holding on to those ideas because they just never gave themselves time or permission
Mhm.
or didn't have the courage to actually follow through on those ideas and thoughts that they had.
Mhm. Wow, there's so much there to unpack.
I know, and I'm
Uh,
sorry. I got started. Like, you get me started on this, and I'm just like, you know.
No, no, and it's so you're so right. I know the majority of the people in our community are over like 40 and older,
Yeah.
right? And I think about that too, right? I'm a woman in my 50s and I think about, how tomorrow isn't promised. And more often, I'm hearing about friends who have spouses who passed away, unexpectedly, right? And I
Unexpected.
like when you talked about intentionality, right? Living on purpose, right? And I often think about one of the things that Oprah used to say when she was talking about her weight was
Mhm.
that it was just time wasted, right? Time
Mm,
wasted, that she was waiting and trying to lose it and trying to lose and trying, just time was being wasted. And I don't want that for us. Like, I don't want that for our audience. I want them
mhm.
to be fully alive, to be living, to be doing the fun things, and not saying to ourselves, because and I don't know about you. Let me know in the chat, ladies, and there's a few brilliant men in our community too. So
Yes, of course.
ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the chat if you're somebody who is putting off doing something because it's the weight, that's holding you back. It's the
Right.
weight that's kind of robbing you of life. And so, in our conversation today, we want to kind of release you from that, right? So that you don't wait. Like, I was waiting, looking out at this beautiful pool and waiting until I lost more weight to get into the pool, right? And then one day I just said, I'm missing out on life. So I put my bathing suit on. And nobody's paying attention to me in my bathing suit. Nobody's checking for me, right? I'm so self-conscious of being in a bathing suit. Everybody else is doing, they're trying to get a tan. They're not paying
Right.
attention to me at
Right.
all.
Exactly.
And then, step my toe in the pool one week, and then like 2 weeks later I just got in and I really had a chance to enjoy it. And I felt like this is living, right? Like, this is living. And it could be in the small things or it could be in the bigger things. Like, maybe you won't travel, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't want to, be you don't want to be outside of your comfort zone, right? Or you
Mhm.
just don't feel like you're attractive, so you don't want people to see you at the size that you are.
Mhm. Mhm.
um but it's letting life pass us by.
Right. And you know what winds up happening, unfortunately, is when you allow a lot of time to pass you by, you have regrets about what you were not able to do or what you didn't do at a time when you could have done it.
Hmm.
Because the reality is, as you age, there's certain things that you won't be able to do because, first of all, the opportunity has passed by, right? And you
Hmm.
just can't get that particular opportunity again. The other thing is, you may find that what was really something that would have brought joy to your life is just no longer available to you,
Hmm.
because so much time has passed on that you may feel like, oh, I don't want to go back and revisit that. But what winds up happening is, and particularly I think, and I can't speak for people who are significantly overweight. I know I'm not, I'm heavier than I want to be, but I'm saying that what happens is, because we have this perception of what other people are saying about us, you know,
Mm.
we let other people dictate how we choose to live our lives. And I'm
Mhm.
going to say that there are some, you know, there's some heavy set women nowadays who are just all out there. They fly. They don't. And you know, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they came to this space of saying, you know, I don't care. I'm just going to show up and be myself, because so many others are like, oh, I don't want anyone to, like you said, I don't want anyone to see me. I'm going to dress in a way that hides everything that's going on. I don't want anyone to acknowledge that I'm here. And I think that some of it has to do with the things that we have said, the judge, because it's judgmental, right? We're judging
Mhm.
ourselves
Mhm.
regardless of what anyone else says. We're going to judge ourselves before anyone else does, so
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like it's so bad. But sometimes when you think about it, you've looked at other people and you've made judgments about them too. And so
Mhm.
your perception is they're making the same kind, or other people are making the same kinds of judgments about you, whether
Yes.
it's not.
And I want to jump in there on that because like I don't feel like I'm a judgmental person, but when I think about seeing people at the beach, sometimes you see people at the beach and they might be like my size and wearing a bikini. And I see them and I'm like, I can't believe she's wearing that. Like, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? So I
Exactly.
am judging them, and I don't feel good about admitting that, but I am looking at them. So I'm thinking if I go out there and I'm like wearing a bikini, which I would not do, but if I was out there doing that, I would immediately think everybody's going to be seeing me. Everybody's going to be looking at me. Everybody's going to be. And I think that too, for me, is tied to, and maybe for some of you too, tied to how you were raised and tied to, like, I come from, a Southern, African American family where we're very close knit and everybody's in your business, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
everybody's going to tell you what you need to do and what you don't need to do, right? And
Right.
and how you don't need to be wearing that, right? Like you are too
Exactly.
big to be wearing that outfit, so you need to take that.
Right.
You need to go back into your room and rethink what you just put on, right?
Right.
And I think from growing up with that and having people, tell you what you can and can't wear, what you should and shouldn't do, I think that's kind of has been in my head, right? So when I get dressed, I'm a pretty conservative dresser, but if I were to put something on, I might think, not so much my mom, but my aunties would like, tell me how it is, right? I could hear them saying, "Now I know you're not wearing that." I remember having my mom's baby sister. She's passed away now. Also, we're talking about people passing away. She passed at a very young age, in her 50s, and I remember I was staying with her, and I was going to take the trash out, right? I was just gonna go take the trash out. And I had on like a t-shirt and maybe some yoga pants and flip-flops. And the trash was like it was like she lived in a complex, so it was like in the center. Maybe it was like 10, 15 steps from the door, right?
Uh-huh.
Not far. But I had curlers in my hair.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I had curlers in my hair and I was just gonna, take the trash out and come right back. Like I wasn't dressed for the day yet.
Right.
And she said she saw me gathering up the trash and she goes, "Now I know you are not stepping foot out of this house with curlers in your
Curlers
hair."
in your hair. My grandmother did that to me. And see, at the time, I had no idea. So, you know, you're getting ready to go to church and you have to go to the store and get some stockings, right?
We're old school. We talk about stockings because I know.
So it was like, I just have to go get the stockings. I'm not ready to do my hair yet. My grandmother was like, "You are not leaving this house with hair rollers in your hair. Take them out." And I was like, "But mama," she's like, "No, you are not leaving." So
Mhm.
I knew you were going to do the hair rollers.
So we have grown up with judgments and we have judgments of our own too.
Mhm,
But I
mhm.
think where you're going and what you're sharing with us today is that you have to have the confidence in yourself to make, we're all adults now, right? That we get to make the decisions for ourselves now. Um, and have the fortitude like these other women that just show up and they don't even care. They're like, "Look, this is who I am and this is how I'm showing up." And
Let me
I
tell
think
you.
I think where it's harmful to us, and I'll speak for myself, is where when it stops me from really living, right? When it
Yes.
stops me from
Mhm. Mhm.
fully living at any size, at any size.
Right. And a lot of us are susceptible to that. And that's what I call OPP, other people's perspectives about
Mm-hmm.
us and about our lives. Because we create blinders and we create limitations for ourselves based on what other people think. And the truth of the matter is we are going around this earth one time. I mean, really, one time. And I am an advocate of people doing whatever it can, release whatever you have to release. This is mindset. This is other people's opinion. This is the belief systems that you have. This is whatever it is, the stories, the old stories that you keep saying, repeating or repeating. Release all that stuff so that you can enjoy this life that you have. Because unfortunately, many of us get to a point where we are in our later years, and we're looking back with regret on, I should have done that. I should have. And the thing is, it's not even so much that you had to go all in. You had to try. You had to give yourself enough permission to try. Now, I'll
Mm-hmm.
say this, it's interesting that we are talking about this too, and we're in the midst of the Olympics. Today, I think is the last day, or tomorrow, or something like that. The
Mm-hmm.
most confident women, they wear whatever they wear, no matter what size they are Brazilian women. If you
Mm.
ever see pictures of Brazilian women, they don't care. They're coming out bikini down. They don't care what size they are. And this is the thing. We in this country, first of all, it was based on like a puritanical kind of perspective on what was acceptable, what isn't acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is when you're looking at a historic perspective for Black women, Black women based on slavery were always considered sexualized. It didn't even matter what was going on. And then, and so you have this notion of you have to hide, you have to do all of these things to keep yourself from being, quote unquote, a loose woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you grew up in church. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to also, this is also couched in respectability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of the things that I think is going on too is when you're looking at these millennials, they don't give a flip. They're just like all that old stuff. They're just like, we don't hold on to that. That doesn't work for us. And so they
Mm-hmm.
live completely differently. And I think this is where we in the Gen X, Gen Z, whatever it is, we have to
Mm-hmm.
take some of that um, take no prisoners attitude
Mm-hmm.
from millennials, because to me that is one of the most exciting things about them. They let no one dictate to them what they should and shouldn't do and how confident they should and should not be. They're coming with
Mm-hmm.
it. They're coming with all of it. And
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't matter to them what you may say. And that, but let me also say this. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
courage,
Mm-hmm.
because when you grew up steeped in, you can't wear this, you don't want people to think of you this way. If you're this size, you shouldn't wear that. If you're this complexion, don't wear bright red lips. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
that people were told. And if you are in any of those, what if you're a dark Black woman and you're heavy set and you can't wear certain things, you can't wear bright lipsticks? It's like, you can't
Right.
come
And
and
then
do
it's like you can't feel attractive, right? You can't
right,
feel your best, right?
right,
So
exactly.
a few things. So a few things I want to touch base on. So you talked about Brazilian women feeling really really comfortable in their skin. And I want to say, one of my viewers, somebody from the community, I'm trying to remember who it was, said to me, Ange, it might have been Jen. She was like, Ange, you need to go to Miami and go on the beach. And you need to wear your bathing. You need to pick your bathing suit, because this was when I was having the dilemma with the bathing suit. She's like, you need to get your bathing suit and you need to put your bathing suit on and you need to go on the beach in Miami, because in Miami they just the same kind of thing, right? It's a warmer climate. Like women are out. When I think about Brazil, I think about these beautiful women, like the perfect
Water, yeah.
bodies, right? But
And all of
they're
them do
but they're women in all different shapes and sizes, and they
yes,
feel
yes.
comfortable and confident in their skin, right? And so that's one of my viewers like, you need, she's like, you will be so confident. You go to Miami on the beach, you will be so confident because everybody is like, nobody's even care about that, right? It's
Right.
not even a
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
So I wanted to address that one first. The second thing I want to address is societal judgments, because that is a real thing. Like, I will tell you that, the society that we live in, you know celebrates thin, right?
Yeah.
Thin. um
Everything then.
And so,
Everything.
if you're a woman who's struggling with obesity, like in our community, and it's so funny because some of you out there are like, oh yeah, I gotta lose weight. I weigh, 190 pounds. And I know everybody has a different journey, but I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, I wish, I wish I would 100 and not only 190 pounds. I wish that was my
Let
story.
me say something to the 190
Hmm.
pound people. If you have been used to weighing 150 or 160 and you got to 190, you're like,
Hmm.
oh my God. Because
Hmm.
I'm one of those people that was always small.
You were
I mean,
small your
always.
whole life. Hmm.
And now, of course, there, I think also we have to consider the hormonal part too. There are some hormones that actually cause you to hold on to weight when you get
Mhm,
to certain ages. Now, of course, you can offset all of this stuff, but I'm
mhm,
just saying there are things that are happening. So if you're used to being 150, 160 or whatever, and you're at 190, you're like, oh, what?
yeah. Yes,
You
because
know?
it's not what you're used to. And listen, like, I've had neighbors who are about 140, 135, but they're used to being like 125. And they're like,
Yeah.
Ange, I know, like, from the outside looking in, doesn't look like I'm, you know, that big. But all my life, like what you were saying, I've been 118 pounds. I've been 125 pounds. So this extra weight is not comfortable for me. And I don't feel
Right.
my best carrying this around. I don't feel
Yeah.
attractive carrying this around.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
me looking at them on the other side, I was like, that's a dream, right? It's a dream to be that size, right? But I do understand that. I would just say that we need to give ourselves compassion, and we
Yeah.
need to be linked up in communities that are supportive, because we do still live in a society that does not that is judgmental about size,
And
especially for women, especially
yeah,
for
this
women.
society worships thinness, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
for some people, they do thinness at all costs, and it's
Mhm.
unfortunate, but yeah.
Mhm. And I also want to share something too. That I remember being like 175, 76 pounds.
Mhm.
And I'm not that tall, but I'm a curvy girl, and feeling very attractive. Like, I felt very good in my skin at that size,
Mhm.
right? And so, and I mean, somebody else might say, "Oh no, you need to lose weight." But I felt very good, and I remember
Mhm.
that looking to the left and looking to the right, like, "Oh, she's so pretty. Oh, look how small her waist is," or, "Oh," like, that went away because I
Yeah.
felt confident and comfortable in who I was, and I felt like, oh, okay, I'm an attractive girl. Like, I feel attractive at this size, and I was no longer comparing myself to anybody. I was just embracing who I was.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's important at any age. And let
Mhm.
me also say there's an ageism thing too. I know there's a weight situation,
Mhm.
but there's an ageism thing as well. And I think that at any age we have to also be willing to embrace us and embrace our lives. Whatever our
Mhm.
lives are, we need to embrace it now because this is the life that God and I'm going to just throw this in. This is
Mhm.
the life God gave us, you
Mhm.
know, and if you are a person of faith, of any faith, the truth is you can't diminish and put down what God's creation. We're all God's
Mhm.
creations, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so we don't have, I just always feel like, even though we sometimes judge ourselves because we don't want to feel like, I don't want other people to judge me, so I'll judge myself and I'll judge myself harshly, more
Mhm.
harshly. So it kind of offsets what other people may say. The truth is, we're still all God's creation. And God doesn't care one way or the other. And
Mhm.
let me jump back to something else when I talked about purpose.
Mhm.
At the end of it, there are people waiting for us to do what we need to do.
Mhm.
And there's some things that only we can do, you
Mhm.
know? And so I hear people talk about, well, this is going on and that's going on. And I'm like, well, obviously that's something you need to address because you're the only one that I know who has this issue. For me, I see it and I say, well, I think 4 or 5 things, but I'm not like up in arms about it. But for someone else who is up in arms about something, that's their thing to do. And
Mhm.
all of us, including your audience, may have something that is our thing to do. And
Mhm.
if we choose not to do it even because of the weight, then we're
Mhm.
not allowing ourselves to really live the life that we are quote unquote purposed to live,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
means the people that we're actually here to serve are not getting their needs met.
Right, which goes right back to what you were talking about, where the greatest treasures and all are buried in the cemetery, right? They're in the graveyard because we're not, doing the things that we're put on earth to do,
Exactly.
because we're allowing the weight, in our case, the weight,
Yeah.
the lack of self-confidence to get
Yes.
in the way of us doing the work that we're called to do, right?
Exactly.
So wait. So I gotta jump in here now, because I'm always telling my audience that about a program that I put together, and it's called Be Brilliant on YouTube.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons why I did that was because I feel like it fulfills my purpose, and that is in helping people really show up and shine, right? Helping them not dim their light, helping them bring to the forefront, and shine light on that thing that only they can do and only the way that they can do it. And what I found is that YouTube is an amazing place to do that in, because you have such reach and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything. Like this cost,
Yes.
I run no ads on YouTube, and like to date, I think YouTube has put my videos in front of 1.5 million people. 1.5 million people. Now, not everybody viewed all of them, or even clicked on them, but they saw them, right? And so I know that each of us a gift is given, and um, oftentimes we're hiding, right?
Yeah.
We don't show up fully and do the work that we're called to do. And I always say the people in my community are brilliant.
Hmm.
They are going through this transformation that's inspiring other people,
Right.
and they have a message to share. One of the ladies that's in my Be Brilliant on YouTube program I said, why did you join? Like, why did you want to do this? And she said, because I know that I have a story that I'm sitting on. I have a
Mm.
story that I'm sitting on. I've been afraid to share it. I've been afraid to go on camera, but I know she just kept getting this pull to do it, and it's not going to go away, right? You're called to do something that's not going to go away, right?
Right.
And so, for those of you, I know I share with you all the time, but if you're ever interested in building out your own community, being the leader of your own community, sharing a message, helping your community grow, like Tonya will say, thrive and prosper,
Right.
right?
Heal,
Heal,
thrive, and prosper.
heal and thrive and prosper, then I want you to reach out to me. You can send me an email at angela@bebrilliantmovement.com. I'll put it in the show notes. You can always find it there. But we have a program that helps you, really build your confidence on camera and get you out there to share the message that you have to share. And yeah, and it's amazing because I know, like us, many people in this community are Gen Xers and Boomers.
Yeah.
They're Gen Xers and Boomers, and Gen Xers and Boomers are pretty conservative. We don't like sharing all our business, putting all of our business out there, right? And
Right.
or we feel like we need to be perfect, right? Before we hit the go live or go on video, everything has to be perfect. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be perfect to help somebody, to
No.
serve somebody else. You don't have to be perfect. So yeah, you led right into that. So I was like, let me just tell them about that again, because we have some amazing women come through the program, and they are. One of the benefits of the program is that they will be featured on the channel, so you'll all get a chance to meet them. But I'm helping them launch their first 3 episodes or their next 3 episodes, so that
Hmm.
they start to build that muscle of confidence
Hmm.
on camera and start to really lead a community.
Right.
So I will say, like, for me, I feel like when it has come to work, um, and you tell me how this is for you, T Brew. When it's come to work, I don't feel like, you know the weight has ever really gotten in the way of it. I mean, the weight has never stopped me from going for a position I wanted. It's never stopped me from working with clients. It's never stopped me from generating revenue and having the courage to be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
It stopped me from other things like going out,
Right.
right? But it never stopped me from the work part. How's that
Mhm.
been for you?
Well, I don't think it I think what happens for some of us is we know our craft, right? We have the experience. We know that we can do whatever it is we are experienced at. And so I don't think it will actually stop you from doing that. What
Mhm,
may happen is you may not go for positions of leadership because you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be in that position of being criticized, right?
mhm,
Because or attacked, because that may be how it feels. And the thing that people can always come at you with is your weight if
mhm,
you are a heavier person. And the thing is, if you haven't figured out a way to make that a non-issue for you,
mhm,
then you're always subject to whatever someone else is going to do or say. You're always in reaction mode, as opposed to, you're just standing on, this is who I am, period,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so I
mhm,
think that what winds up happening is our perception of ourselves will influence
mhm,
whether or not we are generating the kind of revenue that we want to generate.
mhm,
It will influence whether or not we feel comfortable enough to go after those higher any position. Forget about
mhm,
just higher positions, but any position that's out there. We
mhm,
may it Our perception of ourselves will influence a lot of things, whether or not we have relationships, the love relationships that we want, whether
mhm,
we have how we allow people to engage with us. Do we set boundaries, or do we feel like
mhm,
we don't have the right to? You know,
mm,
we've been so used to people making comments and saying
mhm,
things about us. But when we are comfortable with who we are, there's a place that we don't allow people to take. There are things we set boundaries, and we don't allow people to cross over our boundaries. And if they do, there are consequences. Either
mhm,
one, you pushed out of my life, or you're on the sidelines of my life,
mhm,
or two, either way, I'm going to talk to you about it, right?
mhm,
And when I talk
mhm,
to you about it, it is what it is.
mhm,
But whenever you are at the point where you are comfortable with yourself, then you set boundaries for your life, just because it's like I love myself enough to not allow someone else to trample over my awareness or my sense of me.
mhm, mhm.
I think.
I love that, and I think that the more we lose weight, the more we start to, because here's what I believe. I believe that everybody in this community is going through a transformation,
Mhm,
right? We're
mhm,
on GLP on medications that are amazing, and the weight is starting to fall off. So the physical transformation is happening, but the emotional transformation, the transformation from the inside out, is something that we also really need to be paying attention to, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you here today, because I know that if we can build up the thing on the inside, right? If
mhm.
we can strengthen the muscle on the inside, and that comes with setting boundaries. That comes
Mhm.
with feeling worthy.
Yeah,
That comes with having confidence to do the things that you want to pursue, right?
right,
If,
exactly.
if we can do that, then we can meet ourselves where we are, all throughout the journey,
Right,
right?
exactly.
And I think we're better for it at the end when you're all snatched and physically, physically you're together, but also emotionally, mentally you're also together too. You're strong. You don't let people. You're not a doormat,
Yes,
right? You have boundaries.
yes.
Hmm.
And I think that if you don't do the inner work, the outer work, you may get there, but you won't stay there. And
Mm.
and so I think that it's crucial that the two go hand in hand, because you can, and let me just make an analogy. If you were one of those lottery winners who won like 5, 20, 100 something $1 million, and in 5 years the statistics say probably 95% of those people are right back where they were before they won that money.
That is mind blowing. That is mind blowing. That
I
all
mean,
the
think
money is
about
gone.
all the money's gone, but it's because the inner wasn't they weren't prepared for it internally. But when you get prepared for this weight loss internally,
Mhm,
when you get it off, you'll be better prepared to keep it off,
mhm,
because whatever it is that got you there in the first place, you've already resolved it, or you're resolving it as you go along. And I do believe they go hand in hand. And let
Mhm.
me add one more thing. Let me add one more thing. Um, I used to work with women who had experienced sexual assault. Okay. Typically when they were children, like incest, molestation, things like that. And one thing that I have found consistently is a lot of women who were in those groups used weight to hide.
Mhm. It's like a
It's
protection.
a protection. So you think,
Mhm.
right? Whoever the molester is, don't care what size you are. I mean, in reality, but in your mind, it's like, I'm afraid of what the energy that comes to me because I don't know what it means. And
Mhm.
so I have found that
Mhm.
many women who've been through that kind of experience are overweight because they're in hiding mode. They're in
Mhm.
their sense of protection. And so
Mhm.
even with that, you have to resolve it. You have to heal that as you're
Mhm.
going through this. Because, like you said, when you were at 175, you were like, yeah,
Mhm.
guess what? You're going to get the attraction.
Mhm.
You're going to get the attention. And so if you're afraid of that because of the past experience, you're going to wind up going back to what you know as a protective uh,
Mhm.
mechanism, and because it keeps people away in a sense, right? And
Mhm.
so my encouragement to those of you who've had that experience is to resolve that as well. Make sure that's part of your healing process, because when you heal from that, you'll be amazed at how many other things it opens the door for relationships in a way that doesn't have you choosing unsafe people.
Mm.
So I just want to put
Right.
that out there.
Making better choices for yourself.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think that's really good. And you know what's coming up for me, right? When I was thinking about the transformation physically and catching up with that. And I just hope that, I love my community. I love
Mhm,
all
mhm,
you ladies, you brilliant ladies out
mhm.
there. And you special men who are there
Yeah.
too. I just want y'all not to judge me, right? Because I always tell my friends, like if I lose a lot of weight and I get down to a really good weight, I'll probably dress a little bit hoochie, right? I'll probably be
Those
wearing
Daisy Dukes.
you be like, Ange, I know you're not wearing Daisy Dukes. Know how I get up and show y'all what I'm wearing that day and how I'm losing weight. I might be wearing Daisy Dukes and some thigh high boots, right? And I might be wearing like my shirt might be tied in the front,
Yeah.
right? Now I always keep it classy, so I might have a blazer on, but but don't judge me. Just give me grace. Give me
It's your
grace.
grace, Lord. You'll be like, okay, all right, all right.
You're
Look,
like,
just
Aunt,
look.
put some
You
clothes
don't know my
on.
story, right? That's the song. You
That's
don't know
right.
my
That's
story.
right. I'm like, you're like, Aunt, put some clothes on. I'm like, I wore this to church. They said, come as you are. I wore this to church, right? But yeah, so I think that it is important for us to build up the inside. Now, one of the things that early on that I was telling my community is that because I've had friends who said, yeah, 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 I see you want to, take this weight loss medication, but you
Mhm,
really need to deal with other issues,
mhm.
right? The reason why you're eating, the
Yeah.
reason why you got to 300 pounds, right? And what my response to that always is, I hear you, and I'm not disagreeing with you that other issues need to be addressed.
Yes.
However, the disease is one that can be deadly and it needs to be arrested first. So once we arrest the disease, we've got it, we're managing it, then we can start to unpack and excavate and go deeper and start to deal with who we're becoming
Mhm,
from the inside out. And
mhm,
so that's
mhm.
what this conversation is about. And there's a couple other things I want to make sure that I don't step over.
Okay.
One is um, a thing that I do that helps me that I want to share with the audience. And that is like, I want to feel good at
Mhm.
any size. I want to feel good. And so they all know that I celebrate the smallest of wins. Like I'm always celebrating wins. But one of the things that I've been doing is like getting dressed every day. Like pulling something cute out of the closet, right? And it might just be a scarf that you put on that day, right? Or it might just be that you curl your hair and you put on some lipstick that day, right? Your red lipstick that day, right? Or it might be whatever it is for you that makes you just feel that gives you a little extra pep in your step,
Hmm.
I encourage you to do that, because when I'm, even though I work from home, so I'm not like going anywhere. I could be in a t-shirt and yoga pants, right? But I choose to put on a dress, like a pretty dress, or, hair and makeup, or, paint my nails, or those are things that make me feel better, right? They make me feel more feminine, more confident. I feel like I show up a little bit differently
Hmm.
when I do those things for myself. So think about what are some things that you can do for you. And if you have some tips on that too, please feel free to share them. But that's something that I found that has lifted my spirits. And it just, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what am I going to put on today? What am I going to wear? Right. And, I might pull a dress out and say, I'm going to wear a dress today because I just feel like very feminine today. And I just want to wear something cute that's going to make me feel good.
Yeah. And I've been working from home since long before COVID. Okay.
Hmm.
As an entrepreneur, I don't have to go to someone's office.
Hmm.
But one thing I have always held on to is I want to be professional every day that I'm working. And so that
Hmm.
means that if someone calls and like, hey, can you get on a quick call? I am done. I'm made up, my hair's done, my clothes are right. And I've been in calls with people who have on t-shirts, and there's nothing wrong with it. T-shirts with all the, big words with the sororities. And what I would say is you wouldn't wear that to work if you were
Hmm.
face to face. And
Hmm.
so for me, what I wear is what I would wear if I was out coming out to a meeting with you. And
Hmm.
so that's my daily routine when I am working on any project. And but let me do say there are times when I'm like, I'm head down. I'm not having any calls today. I just have to get this done. Then I'm gonna have leggings and a t-shirt. I
Right.
know that I'm not taking any calls. I just
Hmm.
done. We're gonna work
Hmm.
today. So that's a little bit different, but day in, day out, when I'm working,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
it's a
it makes a difference to me. Like, even if I'm not
yeah,
really going anywhere, but I think I show up differently
yeah,
when I've put some care into the way that I look. And I will also say, when I'm not feeling my best, I can tell. Like,
yes.
I'm just like not like showing up any old kind of way. I'm like, something's off here.
And let me say something about that. I went shopping one day, and this may have been in June. This was a couple months ago, month and a half or so, and I wasn't feeling good, right? And so I just went in and I was like, let me just get this, get this, get this. And I tried it on. I was like, all right, it fits. And I went home. But when I wore it, I was like, these clothes just don't even fit. They don't look good. They don't anything.
Mhm.
And I had in my head, I was having a fat day. And let me tell you what I meant by that.
Mhm.
I was feeling like, oh, I'm just feeling
Mhm.
bloated. And so I
Mhm.
went in to try to find something because I was traveling, and I just picked up because I was just like, oh yeah, I should be able to wear that. I should be able to wear that. But it wasn't appealing. It didn't look good on me.
Mhm.
And I didn't really think about it as in totality until I had it on and I was traveling and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I was having a bad day
And it
today.
was like you didn't even care. You just picked something. If it's, let's just pick something,
Right,
right?
exactly, exactly. And I think
Mhm.
that we have to be mindful of what we're
Mhm.
doing when we're doing anything, especially when we're shopping, because the other thing is, um, you're spending your money on these
Right.
clothes, right? And
Mhm.
once you wear them, you're not going to take them back, most likely.
Mhm. Right. And it should be something that in your closet that brings you joy,
Flatter,
like
yeah, and
something
make
that you just think is cute. Let me just put that on. And before, I would judge myself on everything. Oh, I got rolls. Oh, I got my belly. Oh, now I try to just put it on and um, be grateful, like at the stage that I'm in, right? The stage that I am. So there's a few more things that I want to talk to you about before we wrap up. I could talk to you forever. And this is for the community. Let this be a conversation that you guys are just have your coffee and you're just sitting with
just
us,
listening.
having you're just flies on the wall having a conversation with us. But I do think it's important to build yourself up from the inside out.
Mhm.
And my community knows I love them. I absolutely love them. And so and some people are like dropping the weight super fast. Some people are losing it slower. Sometimes some weeks are tougher than others and they get discouraged. But I wanted to bring you into a conversation with a friend of mine who's really great at what she does. So I want to, and if the conversation may go a little bit longer, because I do want to hit on something that you specialize in that I think can be connected to weight loss or gain, and that is relationships. I want to talk about relationships, but before we do that, like relationships with your mom, and then relationships in general.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, I do want to address something because I feel like I stepped over it because I know you. When we opened up the conversation, you shared with my audience that you lost a child, right? And she
Mm-hmm.
was an infant, and you lost a child. And of course, you're healed now, and you're thriving, and you're prospering in your life, and that's why you're able to lead and teach and help other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to say something because we were talking about living with regrets and losing time. And I think that, as a woman of faith, I feel like if we don't give up, if we don't throw in the towel, because I can't even imagine. I have one kid. I can't even imagine the hurt of it was that you experienced. Um, but what I want to share with my audience, because I don't want them to be like, in tears thinking about this, is that God has given her double. So she has, she's a mother again.
Uh-huh.
She's a mother of twins. She has two twin girls. They are 8, right?
There
8.
we mm-hmm.
They're 8 years old, and they are giving her a run for her money.
uh, Run. Oh boy.
so, so she lost a beautiful blessing, right? She lost her child, and it was a little girl as an infant, but God has blessed her with two girls. She has two little girls running around that house. So I just wanted to share that with the audience because um, even though time might pass us by and we don't want to live with regrets, and sometimes we think, you know, it's too late for us. Like now, I might not have any children after that, right? But the fact that God did bless you in spades, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to step over that. So now, with that said, if there's anything you want to add to that,
One thing it's interesting you're saying that when they came to me, they kept saying to me, but we're your daughters. No, we are your daughters. We
mhm,
know we're your daughters. So it's really interesting how God has made this opportunity
mhm,
available for them and for me, because
mhm.
the blessing is on both sides.
Right. They needed you and you needed them too. Right.
Mhm.
So, okay. So now let's talk about what you're an expert in. I mean, you she is, for those of you who may not have ever seen Tonya Brewington before, I always say she's like a Renaissance woman, right? She's a woman with many talents. She can do a lot of things very, very well.
Mhm.
One of the things that she talks about that not a lot of people talk about are, especially in, with women and African American communities, and the relationships and the dynamics with their moms.
Mhm.
Um, Talk to us a little bit about those relationships, the challenging relationships with the mother, and then how that can affect our weight loss or weight gain. Um,
Ooh, look, we could go
mhm.
all day. Um, One of the things I'll say is that for people who have difficult, challenging, toxic even relationships with their moms, it can be difficult to believe that you have value.
Mhm.
And I think part of the weight for some people has to do with your sense of it's a lack of value. You feel like you don't know what there's no value in your life, perhaps. And I don't want to speak for anybody because I don't know all the ins and outs of that on that topic. But what I'll say about people who have difficult, challenging, or toxic relationships with your mom, the issue stems from the fact that this is someone who had you,
Mhm.
and you would assume loves you, protects you, looks out for you, and is actually nurturing you so that you can be your best self.
Mhm.
And for people who didn't get that, haven't gotten that from their mother, it can be difficult to even have good relationships with just in general, but with other women and even sometimes with men, because what I find is that you wind up attracting more of who you are. So it's like you're putting out a signal,
Mhm.
because that's what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to attract people who are at that particular level or who can respond to that signal. And it might be someone else who's had that kind of scenario, that situation. So you guys are kind of operating from the same sense of a lack of self-worth or a sense of loss that you didn't have this. And I think that in the space of that, it becomes difficult to really feel like you have a lot to offer to other people, because it's like, if my own mother
Mm-hmm.
had me, can't love me, who else is going to
Mm-hmm.
love me?
Unconditionally, because I believe that we get our sense of self. You
Yes.
know, that's the first fresh we get our sense of
He's
self from our
helping you,
mothers,
he's
right?
helping shape your vision of the world,
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
if you don't get that, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's challenging.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't get the nurturing, if you
Yeah.
don't get the, all of that developing from the inside out, right? Somebody that looks at you and that's proud of you and
Happy.
always has your back and is
Yeah.
always in your corner. If you have a mother who, and just from listening to some of your teachings, that mothers
Mhm.
that are competitive with you,
Yeah.
right? I have a
Yes.
friend who said, I was like, "You're so cute. You're so tiny and so cute." And she goes, "Well, my mom just keeps telling me that I need to lose weight. Like, you're getting too big. You're getting letting your weight get out of control. You're getting too big. You're getting too big." And she said that stays with me because it's my mom.
It's your
Like
mom.
if somebody else said it, sometimes I could just like
You
let
just
it
blow
roll
it
off my
off.
back,
Yeah.
right? But because it's my mom, she's like, I wish she would just stop saying that, or wish she would phrase it differently because it feels so negative and heavy.
Yeah. And I did I have a YouTube channel too. Thank you, Aunt.
Yes, yes.
It's for women who've had challenging relationships with their moms. But one of the videos I talk about, in one of my videos, I talk about this relationship. You see this mother and daughter with this beautiful relationship. They're, the mom is encouraging the daughter, and the comments is where you get to see people who are like, I wish my mother would never do something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
you recognize the level of hurt that people have. And unfortunately, we carry it for years and years and years, sometimes forever,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't realize that we can actually get over it, even if it's our mom. And I think what people feel is a sense of, if it came from our mom, it is, etched in stone. It has to be right. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to realize that she's human. And if she is toxic with you, it doesn't mean that you have to accept that. I mean, you don't have to accept her perspective of you. And what happens is, when you heal that, you can actually approach her woman to woman, not mother to daughter, because that may not be the way that you need to approach her. But when you are able to heal, you have to do the healing, because you can't expect her to heal.
Mm-hmm.
This is who she has been, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it so that you're no longer triggered, you're no longer in reactionary mode to her. And
Mm-hmm.
then once that happens, then when you're dealing with her, you are able to deal with her woman to woman. And with what I do, with what I teach, it's about setting boundaries and all of those things that you have to do in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, there are some moms out there who are just like that.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I've told my community stories about my mom and how she was, a supporter in my corner, like cheering me on. But it wasn't always that way, right?
Hmm.
There was a time where I felt like her focus wasn't on me or nurturing me, right?
Right.
She evolved into that. But there
Hmm.
were some things that I needed to do on my own, right? Some building up that I had to do on my own because in my mind I felt like this is the gold standard of what I think a mom should be, right? And
Right.
sometimes our moms fall short of that. Our moms are not always that way. And I will tell you that depending on, for those of you who are listening, depending on the kind of relationship that you have with your mom, we're talking about mother-daughter relationships, but it could be other relationships
Yes.
too.
Mhm.
Those people, those people may have a lot of power in your life and they can derail your success,
They can.
right? You
They
know?
really can. I used to always say that everyone doesn't have the Claire Huxtable or the June Cleaver mother
Mhm.
child relationship, because that also becomes a standard that most of us are familiar with,
Mhm.
especially if you're over 50. You know about
Mhm.
Claire Huxtable, you know about June Cleaver.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I also say that if you have a toxic mom, you have to be very careful how you engage with her, especially when it comes to your level of success. Because as you are growing and developing and you are stepping into new spaces and you're elevating your life, elevating your success, your level of success, she may not be encouraging. And you have to be strong enough. You have to have the wherewithal, internal fortitude, not to allow her perspective of you. These are other people's perspectives to derail who you are and what you're striving for. And so as I talk about being intentional, I mentioned that when I lost my daughter, I became more intentional about my life. My mother relationship was also one of those areas that I had to resolve. I had to heal that for myself. And it was interesting for me that having my daughter, the only reason I had her, and I was an older pregnant woman, and the reason I was so much older is because I was afraid to have a child younger, because I was like, I don't know what this whole thing is going on, but I don't want that to happen with me and my daughter. And I don't know if it's just something that will happen or what the whole deal is. And rather than allow myself to feel comfortable to have a child, I chose not to. And it wasn't until I was able to resolve my relationship to the point that I felt like I could be a safe mom with my child. That's when I felt better about trying to have a child. Unfortunately, it didn't wind up that the child, lived, that my daughter lived, but that was something that was really, really important to me.
Yeah, and I think that it could be with any relationships that you have, right? A lot of marriages break up when people lose a drastic amount of weight,
Yeah.
right? Because of the change that you're going through internally and externally. Sometimes your family, your friends, your mother, your husband are not really prepared for the change, for who you're becoming. They're used to the person you've always been, right? You're the chubby girl, right? Or whatever that looks like. And now you're becoming somebody else,
Yeah.
right? So I think there is some work that needs to happen. But at the end of the day, I want our community, and I'm so glad you guys could sit and chat with us, right? I hope you've enjoyed it. I know we talked about a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, what I want for you, what I want for this community is I want you to live a life that's full and rich, and I want you to never dim your light, right? I want you to really show up and shine, and not have any regrets, right?
Right.
Don't have regrets that people are going and doing things and you're staying home because you're heavier than you want to be, right?
Right.
Not going out, not on dates if you're single, right? Not doing the things that because it's life is happening, and I want you to be a part of that.
Right.
I need you to share with them, as we wrap up. I need you to share with them how they can reach you, and I want you to share because I know you have a retreat coming up, and we love retreats. So I
Yeah.
want you to share what you have to offer. What do you have available for the community? Um,
Well, let me tell you about the retreat. It is your next chapter, Life with No Regrets. And this is where we begin to talk about what it looks like for you to live right now, to prepare for your next 3 to 5 years. What will it look like if you were to do the things that you've been dreaming of, that you've always had in the back of your mind? And we talk about what that dream is, but we also talk about developing a plan, as well as helping you craft some focus items that you can work on so that you can get it done. Um, and that's going to be September 26th through the 29th in Charlotte, North Carolina.
mhm,
And you can always go to yournextchapterretreat.com. It's yournextchapterretreat.com. And if you use Brilliant Life, you can actually get 10% off on the.
Yay.
And so you can actually do that. Thank you, because I appreciate Ange. I appreciate everything that Ange is doing, and this work that I know is so crucial. It is important that we provide support in so many different areas of our lives. And if
Mhm,
you're interested in reaching me, you can always go to Tonya at courageouslyalive.com. You can go to our website, courageouslyalive.com. I'm on Instagram.
mhm,
I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page there, and I also am on TikTok. So
mhm,
interested, it's always I am courageously alive on Instagram and Facebook, and on TikTok I think it's just Tonya Brewington. You can actually look me up.
Okay, so you'll have to give me all your links, and I'll make sure to share
Oh,
them with them. And
all
but
right.
let me just tell you, ladies, um, I have been on retreats with T Brew. We've literally traveled around the world.
Yes.
Bali, we've been to Bali, we've been to
Bye.
Dubai, we've been to all of the different places. So she knows how to put on a retreat. So just know that it's going to be first class. It's going to be a wonderful experience if you decide to join her. And you may want to just connect with her based on anything that she said today that you're
Mhm.
like, that resonated with me. Please feel free to reach out to her. I will make sure that all her contact information is in the show notes. Okay. Any closing remarks that you'd like to share with our ladies and brilliant men?
And brilliant men. I read something somewhere, I heard something somewhere when people said, um, when you're looking for people who address, and this is about dressing, the attire that we
Mhm.
wear, and it's like, stop looking at models that don't look like you. Find people who look the way you look and who dress the way that you like to dress, and use them as your guideposts. And I'm just saying that
Mm.
because I know that there are people I look at on Facebook who they're like, I'm 5'2" and I'm this size. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like that outfit because I
Mhm.
can see exactly what it might look like on someone.
Yeah, you're like, that would look good on me.
Exactly, exactly. And so
Mhm.
more than anything else, I just want to leave people with that. Um, look for people who reflect you as you're going through this journey, especially when it comes to how we're dressing and even things like makeup and all this, because we're out there. I mean, the people that you want to model, you want to pattern some things after are out there. And I think that when you see it's out there, it helps you to realize, oh, I could do that too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Borrow their confidence until you can get your own. And that's what I would say about that.
I love that. And I would say, just to come back full circle, be it intentional. What you taught us today is really to be intentional about our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and not to wait
Yes.
to lose all the weight until
So
before
you
we start
decide to
living.
live. Yes.
Right, right.
It's got to
So
live right now.
we
It's
got to live
here
now.
right now. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us.
Yeah, tomorrow's not promised. Oh, I'm so glad that you were here. Thank you for joining us on
You're
Zepbound Journey with Ange. Love, love, love having you here. We have to have you come back again because we could chat. We could chat for hours. So,
We can.
um, and I want to thank all of you for hanging in there with us, for tuning in. Let me know. Give us some comments. Let us
Yeah.
know what you thought of the episode. If you have any questions for T Brew, I call her T Brew. If you have any questions for her, drop them in the comments as well. And yeah, any takeaways that you have from this session, we'd appreciate your feedback.
Yes.
And thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for saying yes to come
Thank you.
on the show. It's so wonderful to have you here. Love you. Love what you're doing in the world. And don't forget, she said retreat is September 26th.
26th, which is a reception on the 26th, but it's really
Mhm.
27th through the 29th. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect, perfect, perfect. And again, those the information will be in the show notes. So
Okay.
as always, I want you guys to go out there. I want you to be bold because it takes boldness to build yourself up from the inside out as your body is making a transformation. I want you to be brave because it takes courage. It takes courage to do all the things that you're doing, to raise your hand when you need help, to lean in, right? It takes courage to do that. And I want you to be brilliant because you are. You are. And there's so many people who are watching you. You're a leader in this arena, whether you know it or not. People are
Mhm.
watching you
Mhm.
transform both internally and externally. And when you do that and you show up and you shine, you don't dim your light and you're unapologetic about who you are, who you be in this world,
Mhm.
you give others permission to do the same thing. So thank you. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Go out there, be bold, be brave, and be brilliant. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks, T Brew.